Hey there guys, my name is Adrian, and with this video I plan to be giving a few tips for beginners on how to get started with digital art using Photoshop CC. I am making this video geared towards brand new beginners who have no experience with digital art, so if you're already someone who has some experience or is an intermediate digital artist, this video is not really for you. But if you're somebody who's wondering how to get started and really hasn't worked with it much, then stick around and I'm going to try and give you a few really basic tips on how to get started. I am making this video with the assumption that you're using Photoshop and have already purchased a drawing tablet for the PC. So that being said, if you open Photoshop, the first thing you need to do is set up your canvas. You go to File and you go to New. My recommendation is that you go over here to these settings on the right-hand side of the submenu for creating a new file and set up a canvas with the right dimensions that you want and the right resolution. If it starts out with the dimensions in pixels, I recommend setting it to inches and choosing a size and orientation that you desire. Basic printer copy paper is 8 by 10, but if you want to choose dimensions that are equal to a certain size that you prefer, like a sketchbook that you like, that's fine. It really doesn't matter too much what size you work with, as long as you know that this is going to be the size of your canvas. It gives you a good point of reference from which to work from. Your resolution is more important than the size of your canvas because the amount of pixels per inch is the amount of dots of color per inch of your canvas. The more pixels per inch you have, the more detailed your picture is going to be. I like to work with 1000 pixels per inch, but 500 works too. I also recommend choosing a gray background instead of white. You just click on this little color palette here and you can choose any color you want. By default, I believe Photoshop is white, but I like to work on a bit of a darker gray because it's more subtle and easier for your eyes. And also your lighter values and darker values will both have a little bit of contrast. So I like to save that as my presets and then create, and that will create a new canvas for you. Now, once you're in here, a few little things to know to get started are layers, brushes, and layer order. And these are just a few really basic things that are really helpful. The first thing that I would recommend that you do is come down here to this icon and click it to create a new layer. This is a layer that I would recommend working on, and if you double click a layer, you can rename it to keep your layers organized. And I recommend not working on the background because that way there, your background can just be your back base color and you don't have to mix it up with your other layers. I'll explain more about layers in a moment. Over here, you have your paint brushes. If you right click and click brush tool, up here, you can see your different settings for your brush. If you click this drop-down menu, you can see different types of brushes. For brushes, there are hard brushes and soft brushes. The difference between a hard brush and a soft brush is that a hard brush has a hard edge, which is completely solid, and a soft brush has a soft edge, which is not solid and becomes less opaque the further you get from the center. For drawing, most people would recommend using a hard round brush. I like to use the hard round brush with pressure size setting because I like the fact that pressing harder on the tablet makes the size bigger, but you can fiddle around with these brushes and get a feel for how they work. Your different layers are really useful because of the fact that you can create new layers and work on just one layer at a time, and what you do on one layer will not affect your other layers. This is extremely useful for when you're wanting to make objects that overlap, or when you're wanting to just work on one specific thing and not have it hurt anything else. To demonstrate, I have a layer 1 and a layer 2. And if I create a red circle on layer 2, and then a blue circle on layer 1, you can see that the red circle overlaps the blue circle. The way that this works is layers appear one on top of the other in descending order. So the layer that is on top of a layer in your layers menu will appear in front of the layer beneath it. And if you want to flip these around, all you have to do is click and drag one layer beneath the other. This is a really useful feature for working in the foreground, middle ground, and background of your paintings. So that is all for this little beginning video on how to get started with digital art. It covers, again, your brush settings, hard and soft brushes and the difference between them, layers, and setting up your canvas. I'm not going to get into art principles or how to actually draw because I really just wanted to demonstrate how to get started with a digital painting with a few of the basic tools for people that have never worked with it before. I hope this was informative to some of you, and have a good day.